I can, a wonderful show, as always, David, and it's really been a pleasure, even though I've been in and out listening, but I've been listening. And, the migrant is a theme that speaks to many of us, and I would say even all of us. It's the condition, the human condition is the migrant, I think. And one of the things that I had the pleasure and the luck of getting a comment on my first book many years ago from A.K. Ramanujan. And Ramanujan wrote on the book, on the back cover, he said, a welcome addition to the poetry of migration. And that phrase has stuck with me ever since. That was back in 1993. So I've been plowing the fields of the poetry of migration, and that phrase seems to resonates. And so here we are with the concept of the migrant. I'm going to read from a few different books. First, from Coconuts on Mars, which was published by Poetry Wala or in India in 2019. And you can find it through me or on Amazon in India, I believe, or through the publisher. A couple of poems just to begin. One is called A Trunk Call Colombo. I was born in Colombo. I'm a Tamil from the north of Sri Lanka, of Jaffna, where my roots are, but I was actually born in Colombo, in the capital in the south. A Trunk Call Colombo. We learned to say trunk calls, long distance minutes with the lost boy or uncle in England, muffled, sharing a bed and hot water bottle with a girl from Southampton or Leeds or London, the mystical man, solitary occupant of a flat venturing into local pub and company. When I think of Colombo, I remember family who left, Tambi, poet and publisher, with a piss pot of gold, naming Fitzrovia, that artist retreat in Chelsea, London, landmark in my memory of the city, English wagged and lobbed, Highlands, Scotch drunk, poetry learned from the English tradition. My dad, who wrote The Marriage of Continents, told me when we left the island that if the English bigot calls me a wog, not to worry, he means I'm a Western Oriental gentleman. Not the case back home, where the Tamil kept quiet, on his guard, aware of the minority's precarious fortune, perceived to have money or luck or discipline or success in school and business. That latent disquiet is also Colombo, named after the explorer whose mistaken discovery of India occurred in the island where I write about that lost city, as far away as a trunk call, a telegram, McCarthy Nursing Home, 1960, a baby composing now from memory, Colombo, a dream, a metaphor, a city by the sea, white porched, white walled, white coats and tails, tropical evening dress, the Grand Orient Hotel, father in a cream suit, mother in long white silk, a wedding, a child before expulsion from paradise. Yeah, I wrote that poem on the island of Quisqueya, also known as Hispaniola, where Columbus thought he had discovered India, in the Caribbean. And this one is called Living Will. One day I will sit down with my soul and write that I have loved every bird that flew, every monkey on the branch, every elephant charging through the grass. I will say I love you as much as the baby gecko scampering past my foot, the snake rustling under the wood, cut and stacked in my yard. I will say I have loved every creature, every song, every turn in the road, and I will be lying with my eyes open and my eyes closed. I am not God. I'm not even the dog loyal to his master who misses him blind like his daughter in Lima, which I call at night until the next time we meet in dreams via chat, cheek to cheek, remembering always that in paradise there are no trains or roads or seas or death, no going away, no arriving, doors and garden open, souls who come and go, smiling, and all the angels, all birds, all dolphins, all men and women in song dancing. And why not? Reciting the Song of Solomon, the epic poems, the love songs that consoled when we set off on the roads, hopped on trains and aeroplanes, got caught in traffic, in our head, said goodbye before saying hello. Did I know you down there? You were the greengrocer I walked past going to school in London. Oh, my dear, how beautiful you are, Pauline, with ripe red hair, who shared the religion prize with me at St. Vincent's on Blandford Street. But you may be alive still, and I'm not ready to meet my maker, to be plucked from the cycle of rebirth. Not yet. I have poems to compose, children to raise, earth to cultivate. Come back later, angel. I have my will to revise. So those are two poems from Coconuts on Mars. Now, I'm going to read now from The Migrant States, which came out last year from Hanging Loose Press. There's a sort of an English theme to these poems, so I carry that along with this poem called English Migrant. I'm digging into English memory, Barbara Earl's class, Wordsworth and daffodils, trying out for 12th night and casting a ship captain and priest, minor characters not related to the play's leading families, a sensitive point for a Tamil boy unaware of his extreme solitude, added to his wish to belong, to graft himself upon the American tree. But Miss Earle helped me along, selecting me later as the lawyer in the senior variety show, a major role in front of the entire school, a speaking part in a musical, tweed-blazered, spectacled, and English accented in an America that respected the Queen's English even more than her subjects, a strange yet minor twist to more than 200 years of independence and development of the special relationship. And now, where did I intend to stroll among the daffodils, reading the lake poets in Honolulu, under palm trees, by the Pacific, eating guavas and mangoes, wearing slippers, the wonderful life of the English scholar in the tropics, comforted by the poetry, even if the flora did not correspond to the melody. I became a citizen and learned later from Whitman that America contains a contradictory, brimming multitude, which Lorca discovered as well when he walked downtown from Columbia the year of the great crash, writing Poeta in New York. And in that city of New York, I got to know Alistair Reid, who, as you know, translated Pablo Neruda in 3 books, Fully Empowered, Isla Negra Notebook, and Extravagaria. And Pablo used to tell Alistair that you've improved me in English. I'm a translator as well, so I always think of Alistair as a kind of hero among when I wake up in the morning and take a crack at a poem. He used to tell me he would wake up and he would translate 4, 5, 6 poems. It was a kind of like running in the morning. And then he went on with his writing day. Alistair gone. I wrote this after his passing. You have left the field to wild grass, creepers, bracken, nests popping out from branches. I don't know if you ride caboose in Temuco now, or step out with moor hens and grouse, or into that Dominican plot which you tilled, says McGrath, with your farmer's hands. I don't know, of course, it's just a fiction, an invention, a hedge, a way to grieve. You are dead, I read, who named my secret country, then disappeared, as was your practice throughout life, the New Yorker office, your only secure address, to which I wrote often, and from which you emerged to invite me to a feijoada, to say, pair the poem, to begin on the lines, you must love, and end on the verse, from where I greet you today, the other side of the sea. He cut the last 2 lines of that poem many years ago in 1990. I'll just recite that one now from memory. You must love, and very much following this theme of the migrant. You must love the land when you leave to build your house on the sea. Love what's lost, the mango tree burning in the garden, the curious noose of the familiar coat of arms. Love the ball turning strong, spinning in a dark, faraway land. Love the tongue you'll never again speak, that wrapped you and bled you and dried up some every day on the other side of the sea. Now, I'm also a poet in Spanish and French, in Portuguese and Haitian Creole. I write regularly in French and Spanish, a column in a Haitian newspaper in French and a column in a Dominican paper in Spanish. And these are poetry columns, not prose. I write a poem every week. So it's a sort of a dream I've had for many years, and I've been able to realize it in the recent period. Anyway, I'm going to read now from the new book that just came out from La Matin in France, Sur l'île nostalgique, just 2 poems in honor of the fact that this series is also a series called Spoken Word Paris as well. L'Égyptien aujourd'hui. Je me trouve dans les vagues, sans repère et sans bateau pour me sauver. Et toi qui as coupé la tumeur avec un couteau, ton sang est renversé dans la mer aussi, la mer rouge, la fin d'un Égyptien, son orgueil tourné en désespoir, la terre non promise pour lui. The notion of the promised land, la terre promise, is what I referred to there at the end. And then I'll try this poem, La Bougie, oiseau migratoire. Je dois te dire que j'allume une bougie dans mon esprit et je prie que la lumière dure toute la nuit et qu'elle ne sera pas éteinte par un homme trop craintif, trop fou, trop jeune dans sa pensée. On doit s'embrasser même dans l'obscurité, accepter l'un et l'autre sa liberté absolue pour s'envoler jusqu'aux autres confins de la terre pour y découvrir que le monde est rond et l'amour n'a pas de choix. La route migratoire déjà faite, que retourner, retourner. La route migratoire déjà faite, que retourner, retourner. So the notion of returning, you know, the prodigal son come back, the prodigal daughter return. Of course, these are all images that come out of early formation in Bible and Catholic traditions, but of course these are traditions that extend beyond any one confession. But one tradition that I still haven't figured out is, how do you explain the disasters, the natural disasters, the human disasters that take place on the planet? And one of them was led to this book, The Splintered Face, Tsunami Poems, after the tsunami of 2004, December 26, 2004. And here's the title poem from this book, which was also published by Hanging Loose Press. Face. Imagine half your face rubbed out, yet you're suited up and walking to the office. How will your mates greet you with heavy hearts, flowers, rosary beads? How shall we greet the orphan boy, the husband whose hand slipped, children and wife swept away? How to greet our New Years and our birthdays? Shall we always light a candle? Do we remember that time erases the shore, grass grows, pains modified? At Hikkaduwa in 1980, I wrote a ditty, a sailor's song about rain in sunny Ceylon. I don't know what Calypsonians would compose about this monstrous wave, this blind hatchet man. Don't know, the viola singers reply. We are a happy and go people, yet the fisherman's wife knows that her grandfather was eaten by the ocean. Fisher communities have suffered in time, and what's happened now is just another feast for that bloody sleeping mother. lapping at our island. But what if the ocean were innocent? The tectonic plates innocent? What if God were innocent? I do not know how to walk upon the beach, how to lift corpse after corpse until I am exhausted, how to stop the tears when half my face has been rubbed out beyond the railroad tracks, and this anesthetic, this calypso come to the last verse. What shall we write in the sand? Where are gravestones incinerated? Whose ashes are these urned and floating through a house throttled by water? Shall we build a memorial some calculated distance from the sea in a park in the shape of a giant wave where we can write the names of the dead? Has the wave lost its beauty, considered now obscene? Yet tomorrow, we must go to the ocean and refresh ourselves in the sea breeze down in Hikkaduwa, where it is raining in sunny Ceylon. Tomorrow, we must renew our vows at sunrise, at sunset. Let us say the next time the ocean recedes and parrots squawk and flee and restless dogs insist their humans wake up, we will not peer at the revelation of the ocean bed, nor seek photographs. We will run to higher ground and gather there with our children, our cats, our dogs, our pigs, with what we've carried in our hands, albums, letters. We will make a circle, kneel, sit, stand in no particular direction and pray and be silent and open our lungs and shout thanks to our gods, thanks to our dogs. The splintered face. Hanging Loose is a press that's been publishing since the 60s, and they do a good job of keeping books in print, so it's still out there. I think I'll finish. I'm not sure how much time I've got left, but I could read one poem from this book and then finish with two short poems from the new one. This book is called Uncivil War, and it's a history in a way in poetry of what happened in that particular uncivil war in Sri Lanka. And, I'm a Tamil from Ceylon, now known as Sri Lanka, a country that no longer exists, Ceylon. And Elam does not exist either, which is the country that the Tamils were fighting for, a separate state. And he has a poem called Happiness Blues, Sri Lanka. I don't know what to say, my friend. I have some blues that don't seem right, too light and fancy-free, happiness and all that putty you poke and pat, grinning silly. But love is the matter with me. I have plenty, and I want to start sharing the bounty. How lucky can a man be, used to melancholy and raving at the moon about family buried by the lagoon? Who will catch the drift along with snowflakes in this far northern and European town that tried to make peace back in the viper-ridden Vani and failed, yet somehow, miraculously, cousins survived and are making their way out of the jungle, heads held high. And throughout the planet, family is saying this effort to settle foundation stones of our piece of earth will continue until the end of time. So nobody should rest on laurels or dream of bitter death. Happiness has me up tonight, generous and lively. Are you ready for a role? A reading about uncivil fools who think blood can be washed away, bones buried in the sand, that everybody will forget how one hand clapped and white fans set off to prowl. No, my friends, this happiness will not be shoveled into the back seat or stuffed with cloth down its throat or peppered in the eyeballs. It will not expire before midnight. We are about to play. The crowd is eager and shouting a post-midnight set. Happiness Blues, After the Reckoning, The Counting of the Dead. I was just recently in Paris after many years, and I met so many Tamils living in the city, working in the city, one of whom served me some food at an Indian vegetarian restaurant not far from Shakespeare and Company. And I spoke with her in French. And of course, she didn't speak English. She spoke French and Tamil. And so the connection for us was the French language. And I gave her a copy of that book, So L'Île Nostalgique. Anyway, it felt very good to be able to sort of meet with fellow members of the village, so to speak, when I was there. Now I'll finish with two short poems from the new book, which is a big, thick book. It's called Blue Window. It's published by Dialogos Books, and it's available on Amazon everywhere, and Ingram in the US. Very proud of this book. It's a book I wrote in Spanish under the title Ventana Azul. It was published in Mexico in 2016 and translated by Jennifer Rathburn into English. And I worked with Jennifer on the translation. It was a rich experience where the poems became better. They improved in Spanish and in English. And anyway, here are a couple of them. On my body, sobre el cuerpo. Escribo sobre el cuerpo, porque a pesar de las nubes de olvido, descubro que tengo uno todavía y se pueden alterar sus ambiciones, correr hacia arriba en acero, ilusionarme con amar de nuevo. On my body. I write on my body because in spite of clouds of oblivion, I find I still have one, and its ambitions can be altered, run to the top of the hill, be fooled by love once again. As I mentioned, this recent trip to Paris, I'm fascinated have always been by the poem In a Station of the Metro by Pound. And it was a 26-line poem, and he distilled it into two. And for me, that's a great act by the Il Miglio Fabbro, I managed to get this particular poem into 3 lines. It goes like this: En pocas palabras todos. En pocas palabras todos nacen, crecen, se enamoran, se decepcionan, sobreviven, se enamoran, sobreviven, se alegran, dejan de crecer, disminuyen, se mueren. In a few words, everyone is born, grows, falls in love, is disillusioned, survives, falls in love, survives, is happy, stops growing, diminishes, dies. And I'll finish with a poem that comes from a very simple metaphor taken from football. Esperando el segundo tiempo, waiting for the second half. Sí, es solo un juego y depende de un hombre árbitro. Y los hinchas vienen de la casa cuyo equipo anfitrión tiene el respaldo. Es una droga, hay decisiones erróneas, malditas, y finalmente es la tristeza de ver a un equipo defenestrado jugar el resto del partido. Espera, todavía y siempre tendremos el segundo tiempo. Waiting for the second half. Yes, it's only a game and depends on a human referee, and the fans cheer for the team with the home field advantage. It's a drug. There are bad, cursed calls, and finally the sadness of seeing a team reduced in number play out the rest of the game. Wait, now and always, we will have the second half. Thank you, David, for giving me the second half. Much love and poetry.